to yet another edition of the program, The Forum, here on Canal English. Our guest today is a journalist, a veteran journalist who deserves not to be presented anymore. His name is Eddie Etawo. He works for the newspaper The Star. With him, we are going to be talking or focusing on a number of issues, especially what is currently going on in Anglophone Cameroon. And recently, there has been a call from the chairman of the Cameroon Bar Council for lawyers to resume work. That is, to resume pleadings within the courts of the former West Cameroon. Will it happen? And these and other topics will be discussed in just a minute. Please do not go away. As I announced at the introduction of this program, our guest today is Eddie Etawo. He is a journalist and working with the newspaper The Star, or Star newspaper simply. With him, we are going to be discussing on the current crisis in the country, especially west of the Mongo, and perhaps on other topics. But then, before any other thing, Mr. Eddie Etawo, it's a pleasure to have you here today.
Thank you very much, Mr. Smith.
How are you doing?
Fine, I think fine.
Now, I'll be starting right away with this question. Well, as a journalist, right, a veteran one for that matter, who has been a witness to the ups and downs of this country, especially what goes on between, we might refuse it out of sometimes ignorance, or we just don't want to recall that there is a problem between former West Cameroon and former East Cameroon. It has been going on for 56 years. Sometimes we are in denial. But now, as a journalist, what is your take on the whole on the current crisis?
Well, I think it will be an aberration if one refuses that there is no problem, there's no Anglophone problem. I think that problem has been there. First, because of negligence, and secondly, because of intransigence. Intransigence on the part of the government. There's no gainsaying. It's an open statement that there are posts Anglophones have never occupied and may never occupy it. There are places Anglophones, secretary generals in ministries that override decisions of some senior Anglophone ministers. Even the Prime Minister, we hear there are decisions he takes and they are changed just by people far below him. So this is an indication that the Anglophone has a problem. We really have a problem here. And the problem is that we are Anglophones. We have the Anglophone culture to preserve and to keep. You know, the culture of the people is like the soul. You know, once you take away the soul from a group of people, that culture, that person dies.
Which means somewhere, I'm sorry to interrupt you, that the Anglophones are through and through correct in all the allegations, in all the claims of marginalization.
Absolutely correct, because they are, the Anglophone culture is slowly but surely pushed to the west. And if it continues that way, finally you will not find the Anglophone culture, the pure Anglophone culture that we inherited in this country any longer.
And now, in such a situation, what, as an experienced journalist, what could you propose then?
Well, there are two options. Secession, outright secession. We take our own, we become West Cameroon like we were before. And there is the other option, a federated state where you have 10 autonomous states where people implement their own affairs so that they can protect their culture and assure their own development themselves.
But now,
as far as I'm concerned, I think we have gone already too far with the idea of unification.
What do you mean by going too far?
I think we have lived together already for too long enough, and what we should do is to consolidate our
But
unity.
do you think that your idea of saying that we've lived together for too long is just 56 years?
Yes.
But if you put it, for example, at par with people of the Catalans, where the Barcelona is the capital, people talk about it, or the Scots, they have been with England for more than 360 years, but yet they want to secede.
But that is not a model. I don't find anything positive in breaking down a relationship. No. On the contrary, I see that if there are problems in the context of a relationship, those people are seen as wise, mature, and intelligent if they can go back to the drawing table and make the relationship work.
But now, do you think there are any chances of going back on the negotiation or the negotiating table, as you said? Is there any chances that happening?
As far
in
as
your opinion?
yes, as far as I'm concerned, there's nothing the government of this country hates, even if you don't see it openly. There's nothing the government of this country hates like the word cessation. Once you call cessation of the Anglophones, they tremble. Sweat runs down their spine.
No country in the world wants to hear that.
No country in the world. So I think they are putting everything, slowly but surely, from the look of things, they are putting everything in place to make sure. And I
what
think,
thing, for example, are they putting in place?
I think they look at the structure for bilingualism, what is happening in Enam, what they have done to the common law, what they're trying to do with the Anglophone educational system. I think these are some of the things which we are clamoring. Once major steps are taken, such that the Anglophone culture...
But some people will tell you that all those measures you've enumerated, creation of Anglophone or department at Enam, right?
Yes.
The creating of a common law bench at the Supreme Court.
Yes.
And the number of things you have just enumerated.
Yes.
What will you say to people who claim that those are May promises? It has been done like that for 56 years, and at the end of the day, when you calm down, they will forget.
No, I don't think that government will continue in that way. As I've told you, the government of this country is resolved to keep this country together. One thing is coming out clear: the government knows that the government of the Republic knows that the Anglophone is united when it touches fundamental issues, fundamental basis of its culture.
How do you think? Aren't you contradictory? You say this government wants this country to stay in the same configuration that it has been now for 56 years.
Yes.
But yet you said a while ago, even the Prime Minister's order can be underwritten by secretary by an undersecretary.
Yes.
Some Anglophones on there, we have about 70 ministers, only one who is an Anglophone, right?
Where?
And you have reference hospital all over French-speaking Cameroon, none in English-speaking Cameroon. And to add more salt on the injury, for almost 82 days today, maybe 84 tomorrow, no internet in Anglophone Cameroon, and Anglophone Cameroonians have been arrested in a one-turn discriminatory manner. And how do you conciliate that with your claims that this government wants unity?
You talked of a contradiction. I think that contradiction is apparent, maybe in the mind. As a matter of fact, it's never too late to start making things that will make unity work. All you've said are true. Many propositions have come into place. They have not been. But I think this is not the opportunity. This should not give us the opportunity to think that things will never work. I think it's never too late to start. The government of this country wants to take seriously the Anglophone issue and to preserve the Anglophone culture in its original form like it was. I think this is what the Anglophones are looking for. Keep our culture pure and unblemished like before, and give us what is our due. I think the government of this country, if it wants to avoid the extreme of secession, it do everything to implement this. And as I said, it's never too late to begin. I think it's time we begin to believe that there is some good faith in the government, because there's nothing that can go.
Do you believe them?
I do absolutely believe them, because I want us to remain united. But I want things to change fundamentally, so that my culture as an Anglophone is not tarnished, it's not blemished, it remains original as it was presented to us. And you know, when you talk of a culture, you're talking of the educational system, you're talking of the judiciary, you're talking of the language, etc. These things should be done in such a way that they come back to their original form.
Okay, let me ask you another question.
Yes.
It concerns what is really, I think, trendy right now, that is the suspension of the strike of the Anglophone lawyers that has been on for about 6 months now.
Yes.
Are you for it or against it?
Obviously, if I stand for unity, I should be for the suspension of the strike. You can't talk of a democracy without the lawyers practicing to defend people's rights. So if there have been an upheaval, and now there is a way forward, I think we should throw our weight behind the negotiation and make sure that lawyers go back to court so that people's rights are defended.
Good. Now, how will they go to court when some of their colleagues are in jail in Yaoundé? Agbobala, isn't he a lawyer?
Yes, he is a lawyer.
And don't you think that by them resuming work on the 2nd of May, as Jackson Kamga claims, which I think, anyway, as he claims, will now seal the fate of the Anglophone lawyers that are currently in jail?
No, I find it difficult for you to call Jackson Kamga's outing as a claim. No, he's working on a decision that came from the Ministry of Justice.
Because there are some divergent points of view. There are some lawyers who claim that if they go to court, it means it is tantamount to treachery.
It's a claim. It's not a fact. You see, you have a right to your claim, to your opinion. It's an opinion.
But you as an individual,
yes.
Do you think, you are a journalist, right?
Yes, yes.
I'm a journalist.
Yes.
And if you are in jail, and we take a common ground, and I start working while you are in jail, will you feel fine with me? Because you're saying even that we have 11 journalists in jail currently, and none of us is doing anything, right? Are we correct? Am I correct to say that?
Yes,
we have
right.
11 Cameroonian journalists in jail in Cameroon currently. And this is a country that claims to be democracy. But we journalists have done nothing. But the lawyers at least have a very brilliant esprit de corps. Now my question is, how do you think we are furthering in our negotiation, in the negotiation of the lawyers, while Agbobala and the other number of lawyers are in jail?
No, the point is, as I've always said, there are prospects that these detained lawyers will be will be released in the days ahead. The government is under pressure from within and from without to release these lawyers. And you can see there is a logical sequence. There is a logical sequence towards the release of these lawyers. I
may want to know it. What are the logical sequence?
The merging of the lawsuit against them shows that they are no longer terrorists. Because if they were terrorists, some people were arrested. Abubakar was arrested for terrorism and other charges, while some other people were arrested just for inciting the Anglophone problem. You see, like Mancho BBC. Now, from the look of things, by merging the laws together is to tell them that, oh, these people expressed their view about what they think is not going well in this country.
Brilliant. Now, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
Let me ask you, I'm sorry to be interrupting you, right?
No, that's okay.
Now, the thing is, when you say Mancho BBC, as a journalist, are you convinced that Mancho BBC was inciting the Anglophone problems, or was saying that in Bamenda, the city council is corrupt, is a cesspool of corruption, no roads, no jobs, no power supply, no water? Can you conciliate that with advancing an Anglophone problem or a national problem? Are there jobs in this country?
No, the point is, I would always tell you that it's the responsibility of the government to do everything possible to restore peace. As a matter of fact, those points are salient.
But you're not answering me on Mancho BBC.
No, that's where I'm coming.
Yeah.
The points raised by Mancho BBC are salient and pertinent. Unfortunately, people misunderstood it, used up and resulted to violence. Some even going to extremes of secession and so on. So I think what the government did may not be right, but taking Mancho BBC was first, to my mind, was to see how to restore order before going on with the negotiation. I don't think leaving Mancho BBC there to people would not have.
Are you trying to let us understand that Mancho BBC was like a spark? Leaving him free would have fueled the uprising
to a very wrong direction. You see, because
don't you think that those people in Bamenda who were supporting Mancho BBC, they are young men and women who do not have jobs? What did they have to do with secession? They want job, for Christ's sake. Isn't that what they were looking for?
Yeah, but you see, we have to also ask, just like a father asking a child asking something from the father. You must ask within the means. We cannot expect up the 100% employment in Cameroon just because somebody exposed.
Do we have 2% employment in Cameroon? Do we?
Something like that. But the point is, we have to improve on many things. The governance, because it is through governance, investments that we can create jobs. We can create those jobs and make the economy advance in the kind of cacophony that people were trying to orchestrate in the country.
Who are the people who were orchestrating the cacophony, as you claim?
Yeah, those who were rioting from left to right and so on. The points were made.
Eddy,
I expect Cameroonians to make the points clearly and not to go burning and looting and give
let me
people
ask
the
you a
opportunity.
question.
Yes.
Was Agbobala burning anything?
No.
Was Mancho BBC burning anything?
No.
And now why was he arrested? Do you know what happened with Fontem? Do you know Fontem's car was blown off by the Cameroon government?
Was it the Cameroon? There are no proofs. There are no proofs. They are simply vandals.
Who said these cars are ablaze?
No, they are simply vandals. What about the Limbe market? I'm saying that they are a confused set of rascals who have taken the complaints, legitimate complaints from the lawyers and teachers hostage, and they are going about doing things.
Who are the rascals? Who are the rascals? Agbobala?
No. I mean,
Mancho BBC?
No, these are people.
Bobga Harmony?
These are people. No, they are
Fontem.
No, these are people who were at the head.
And they are rascals, as you say. Are they rascals or not?
No, these are not the ones who are burning. The people who are burning are in the streets.
And now
you don't identify them.
Let me ask you a question. Let me ask you one question.
Yes.
So this government doesn't have the capacity to distinguish the rascals, as you claim, and then the law-abiding citizens like Agbobala, Dr. Fontem, Mancho BBC, for Christ's sake, he was clamoring for jobs in Bamenda and in Cameroon.
Now, the point is simple. It's difficult to attack the head. Once you touch the head, you kind of have touched the holes. These people stood for. It was, for me, I thought the government's bringing these people to justice was not because they asked, but because they incited people to. You are only thinking that they were asking for justice, but what if they asked? What about people whose markets were burned, property looted? People buy tomato. They don't
There's
go
no
to work.
problem about that, sir. There's no problem. People who are arsonists should be punished. But my question is that you cannot correlate it with the arrest of Mancho, Bala, and Fontem.
They asked let me simplify. They put their points which were salient and correct to the government, but unfortunately people usurped it. Who takes responsibility for the disorder? I think that the people who started it should take responsibility.
To conclude on this this topic, right?
Yes.
If I understand, Agbobala, Mancho BBC, Fontem should bear the responsibilities of how the outcome of the movement went.
Not responsibility as such, but they should learn how to, organize their complaints, so that if you take a coffin and you sleep on it,
what is the problem? He takes a coffin.
You incite people. I mean, I'm saying that
so
those.
Because
those complaints.
BBC took a coffin.
Those complaints.
Yes.
I would say this several times.
Yes.
Those complaints were legitimate and correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, and they needed urgent answers.
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, they whipped up the society. It delayed, and many people joined it, but with diverse intentions.
Okay, now
and
in hindsight,
the country was in, and it is the government had to do something, everything to keep the country in order.
Everything to keep the country in order.
Yes.
Killing, raping people, arresting people wantonly is part of keeping the country in order.
It is the way the problem was. You don't know from which direction. You can't say with certitude whether it was the government raping or it was the confused people who are wanting to usurp the crisis.
Now, at the University of Boya, we saw a policeman beat up, and Wiriba said the niece was raped by a policeman. Can Wiriba be lying, sir?
Well, he could. He needs to bring pictures of that to prove. But
did you see what happened with the lawyers in Boya beaten by the police? Was that a frame up? Was it frame up?
Well, if that is what happened, then
I know you are a journalist.
Yes.
Are you trying to refuse that in
Boya?
No.
It was.
Did it happen? Yes or no?
It was.
Did it happen? Yes or no?
It was an unfortunate situation.
Which means it happened.
It
right?
happened. It was
Great.
It was an unfortunate situation, and I think we should learn from those incidents like that, to make our country, to advance our country, to know that there are certain professions, certain people you don't need to touch, especially if they have legitimate claims to ask. But I am still pleading that when you have revendications to make them in a way that you don't incite and do things which will overturn and send the population into rampage. As a matter of fact, the population was beaten into some kind of confusion, and the government was really confused.
So you want a revendication, in an orderly revendication, right?
They should be
now,
orderly.
When the lawyers were beaten, their robes seized from them in Boya, beaten in Bamenda, were they doing a peaceful or a kind of wild revendication?
As I told you.
No, yes or no?
I told you the incidents in Boya
and Bamenda
are really unfortunate situation, and I would like the government, to not only to work on that, but also to be a sensitive government. I mean,
are they sensitive in your opinion?
They are not sensitive.
Thank
as a matter
you.
of fact.
Now let's talk on another subject because we don't have a lot of time.
Let me. We are where we are. If I say these people should be arrested, in fact, I have the government to blame, because if these problems had been listened to on time, we would have nipped all these issues in the bud. But unfortunately, they were not listened to, and the lawyers' problem, the teachers' problems, became the problem of unemployment, became the problem of roads, became the problem of the farmers who could not. So the inability of the government to listen and solve this problem systematically gave birth to other problems.
Gave birth to other problems. Now, we don't have a lot of time. Let's talk about Maurice Kamto a little bit. Yes. What do you think of his claim that the elections, the government is maneuvering to postpone the 2018 elections? Kamto claims that.
I don't think it's a maneuver. I would like free and fair elections. That people should not be under pressure when elections are organized.
So Kamto is right.
Kamto is Because if you say government is ploying or is trying to
it's scheming
it's
to
not,
postpone it.
It would not be a scheme. It would not be a scheme. It would be a scheme it will be a bad scheme if it's a scheme in the interest of the government. But if it is a scheme for the greater interest of the organization of the elections, then I think, because it's not always everything that government does that people should think that it's negative. But if it is a claim to have enough funds to bring as many stakeholders as possible to organize a free and fair election, I think I'm for it. But if it is a scheme to, organize the elections and to rig it in favor of the eternal president, I think that will not be the thing to do.
Okay.
But, yes.
I'm sorry to interrupt you in that way, right?
Yes.
Because it's the end of the program.
Yes.
If you have something rapidly to say, we can figure out what else you have to say.
No, what I want to say is that Cameroonians should be patient with the government, give them another trial. Unity of this country is very primordial. Our unity and diversity, the purity of the Anglophone culture should be respected. Government should make sure that there should not be posts that are reserved only for Anglophones and Francophones. Hierarchy should be respected, regardless of whether you are a Francophone or Anglophone. If you are Prime Minister, people should respect you. If you
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'm sorry, right? I'm sorry because we have just 26 minutes, and it was a great pleasure and an honor to have you here, Mr. Eddie Etawo, who is a veteran journalist, and he is still writing on at Star newspaper. And that was that for the forum of today. Please do not go away. Stay tuned to programs on Canal de English.